Alrighty, so I'm excited to have Jay with me. Let me do a super quick intro. I'm a Muslim. I like to talk about social issues and show how Islam fixes everything, but I love having people with different perspectives. Jay has come and joined me loads of times. He's really interesting. Jay, would you describe yourself as a Christian?
Yeah, I use Christian beliefs. Hang on 2 seconds. Let me just get rid of my. Uh, hmm.
There's something stuck to you there?
Yeah, no, just the YouTube channels open. Yeah, I follow Christian beliefs and anything else that works for me. Basically,
Cool, that sounds good. Very
it's
open-minded.
it's like a scientific Christian, meaning if it works, great. If there's something in, whether it be it doesn't matter what religion, what book, whatever. If it works, I'll do it. But I have found that 90% of the stuff that I use is from the New Testament. So yeah.
Cool. I love that because that's actually an Islamic point of view as well. Like
Mhm.
Prophet Muhammad, he said, if there's any wisdom, it's the lost property of Muslims. So basically, in a way, it's saying like, take on wisdom wherever you find it. And so we're doing I'm doing a kind of series where I go through this famous psychologist called Dr. K,
Mhm.
and we play his 30-second or 1 minute clips, and then we react to it. My aim is to give an answer better than his answer because I think he's doing some sort of, I don't know. I think Islam's got better answers, my short thing. But I'm really interested what Jay thinks. Let's play the
So if I'm
video.
a dude and I'm struggling and I'm saying, like, my life is hard, no one will talk to me, I don't get compassion. I get, you're a loser, you're a creep. What I get from the toxic masculine people is, yeah, you are a loser. It's how you feel. You are a loser. Here's a way to change it. Your life does suck.
And sorry, I have to insert, and here's the reason. It's because it's someone else's fault is also a huge part of the quote solution that you're being sold by these men.
Well said. That's a huge part, right? So it allows us, there's also another really important part, which is that it really feeds our ego because it says it allows us to demonize someone else, which allows us to absolve the responsibility within ourselves.
It's dangerous. That's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, it works incredibly well, right? When I say when something is wrong in your life and it is not your fault, it is someone else's fault. This can explain half of the political rhetoric that we see historically too. So if I'm a dude.
Okay, I'm going to give a really quick 30-second reaction. Then I'd love to hear Jay. First of all, I think he was saying one thing, and then the woman took over and said her thing, and he changed his mind. Because I don't think he was even going to say what that woman was saying, because I don't think that woman likes people like Andrew Tate and some of the religious folk who are considered, top masculine supporters or something, right? Because I don't think this the Andrew Tates and some of these Christian groups, even I would say, like whatever talk show, what they call podcast, they basically say you've got to fix your own problems, and it's not. They do say there's a reality of there are problems in the world, but they're not saying blame the world. It's just be aware of the world. So I don't think they're right. But now I want to go to my quick solution. The quick solution is Islam is really clear about essentially what is known as traditional values. Like men provide, women should be obedient, and because men should also lead as well. But men should also be kind. And so when you have clear rules about how to live life, it doesn't matter what some random YouTuber says in the world, right? Because you've already got a direction. Maybe the problem is people don't have clear directions, and people have gone. Also, Islam is very based on nature, and I think we've kind of deluded ourselves about what men are like, what women are like. Women are not like men. They can't do the same things. They can't make as much money either. There's a reason why there's a gender pay gap. So It doesn't mean women are worse. They're just good in other ways, like being kind and soft and taking care of kids, and that matters. And you can't put a price on that. So that's my thoughts, essential, the basic idea. What are your thoughts, Jay?
Well, I mean, you've got right into it, but I don't think that toxic masculinity actually exists. I don't think it's an actual thing. I think it's a made-up concept in order to do more man bashing, more manipulation from the left feminists. There are some horrific men in the world, don't get me wrong, that are evil, narcissistic, and horrible and violent, and that needs to be called out for what it is. But toxic, I've looked it up, I've researched it. One or two people think the same as me, but I don't think it's actually. I mean, can you tell me what it is?
No, I got no idea. But I do agree with you that people call everything toxic. And you know what people call toxic? Anything that disagrees with them. And that's toxic.
or racism.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, if you have, how about a man like belittling a woman, and people say, "Oh, that's toxic masculinity." What if it's a man belittling a man or a woman? Because women do it. The bitchiness and the nastiness that goes on, like in women groups, and what do they call that?
Yeah, I think people are too sensitive as well, right? So calling everything toxic, and then what? You call it toxic, then what? How does that change anything? How do you solve a problem? I think one of the big things on my channel is pointing. I call it pointing the thumb rather than pointing the finger. And calling things toxic is just blaming other people. It's like, oh, that person is terrible. It doesn't solve anything. By calling people toxic does not solve anything. It's just saying they're horrible people or something.
Well,
go on.
It's just like I mean, we've gone through racism, we've had Islamophobic, we've had transphobic, we've got homophobic. Why not add toxic masculinity into it? Like these buzzwords are just becoming like more and more ineffective and weak. Like as time goes on, people call Trump, a toxic man. He's got some faults, as I've got faults, as I'm sure you have, but calling him that doesn't change anything. It doesn't do anything. It'll probably wear off in a year, and they'll find another term. Really, my thing on the whole thing is that if you have a tribe of people, or a collective, or a town, or a church of people, and they're brought up correctly, and like the individual isn't like trying to assert himself on others for egoic reasons and stuff, then you won't get the sort of behavior that men and women do, which some call toxic masculinity. There's clearly something wrong when some men start to oppress others. Like there's something wrong with them. It's not right to.
I think there's a lot of oppression all directions. Like I think you pointed it out that women are bitchy towards men a lot. Like that woman. Like what was she talking about? What she's talking about some random. Like if she's talking about Andrew Tate, for example, who nobody cares about now anyway, right? He's gone off the scope, but he's just the person I know because I don't know enough about social media, right? He was talking about getting fit, being responsible, taking leadership. There could be some things that sound a bit strange, like that woman's my property or something, right? You know what? I'll tell you something. I've got, I'm trying to get a second wife, right? And my Ghanaian fiance, she said like she essentially said I'm her property, and I didn't mind at all. Like what she meant was that like we're each other's property sort of thing. Like we have to take care of each other and things like that. Like that was just language. and you don't have to take it badly, you know. It's just a different way of saying things, and we should try to understand each other rather than just try to misunderstand each other and just fight all the time, which I think a lot of social media, unfortunately, is about getting views. And so what people do is encourage fighting and not learning. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I also think that we live in a world today where like men and women have to be something, you know, work on, be like, you have to make something of yourself. And I'm using the word self. So like you have to stand out, you have to be bigger than, better than, and have more hits, more likes, whatever. And I think a lot of people, men and women, feel like that pressure that they have to be larger than life in order to succeed, but it doesn't work like that. It tends to be the people that, like, you know, almost the people that try the hardest on an egoic sense. It doesn't really work because it's false. But you know, men who are principled and have good morals and are pretty stoic and conservative and subtle, in the long run, they'll come through.
I love that. That is very, I would say that's very Islamic. Islamic's about slowly but surely growing and things like that, right? So just like do your job, be a good dad, you will win in the long term. And let's maybe, I don't know if it's controversial, but I say this all the time. Muslims are taking over England without any effort, right? How are they doing it? They're not like revolutionizing, getting bombs and stuff. They're just like slow and steady, doing their work, sticking to family values, and those family values make you less depressed. They're keeping to their communities, which help them find matches. You know what I mean? Like, so they don't have to depend on these really crappy apps that, you know, most of Westerners have to depend on. What is it? What's the famous one? All these crappy apps, dating apps, whatever, right? That only seem to help a few men who are really horrible, narcissist, psychopaths, right? And women seem to select them, right? We can go into whatever reason. So, like, I love that, basically what you just said about just slow, steady. You don't need to make a lot of noise. I think the first time you came on my stream, what really caught me and really impressed me, I still remember it. Like, you chased the money and the big stuff that you thought, and everybody else, a lot of people are taught, that would make you happy, and it made you depressed, right? So all these people, all these people who are like trying to get views, and it's all hollow, right? I could do that. I don't really care about the
if I can just say, it wasn't the money or the success that made me feel horrific. It was I suffered from the delusion that it would make me feel good. So with the money, I did not feel good. So that was the place of like jumping off. Like, I felt terrible. It's like taking, if the doctor gives you medicine and it doesn't work, it's like shit. I'm in trouble here. And it was just like, so money in itself can be a good thing if used wisely, but our relationship with it doesn't replace God. It doesn't replace principles. It made me into a bit of a horrible person, I'll be honest, but that's another story.
You know what? I'm not different. I think we're all attracted to a dark side that keeps calling us, and we have to keep having like these wise conversations to remind each other, no, that doesn't work. I love that you said money is not bad, because some people go to the other extreme. It's like it's useful, but it's really hard to spend it the right way. It sounds funny, but it's really hard to spend it the right way without going the dark side. On one side, I say that, but on the other side, like, actually, the rules are simple. Be generous, spend on other people. Don't indulge yourself on stupid stuff because it doesn't make you happy. I think it's simple but also hard because we're always attracted to a dark side. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I agree completely. Yeah.
Cool. But now I love talking about solutions. Let's talk about solutions. Better solutions than this guy. So I'm not even sure really what this guy's solution was, because that woman took over and started saying it's all about blaming, but I didn't really hear solutions. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Do you remember any solutions from this guy?
I didn't understand what he was saying. I'll be honest with you. I was in a way put off by his fearful, like, female voice and his fast pace of speaking. I struggled to understand what he was saying.
I mean, we could play again, but it would be boring to listen to him again,
Yeah.
right? But although he's really famous, but I think he's famous for telling people who are not making progress in their lives that it's okay. It's, do you know what I mean? Like, and then people feel good about not making progress in their lives. And he might give solutions here and there, but I don't think he said, he usually just says, "Don't worry, it's all right to not be successful." I don't know. And then sometimes he gives some other solutions. But anyway, so I didn't really hear any solutions in the comments, in the live chat, whatever. Do tell me if there was a solution, actual solution that he suggested, other than don't blame other people, I guess he was saying. That's what I didn't really get much more than that. So in terms of toxic masculinity, I tell me where. I've already said what I think is a solution is you've got to have clear rules about how to live as a man, because men are different to women massively, right? We just think differently. We think more about objects and whatever. So famously, there's a psychologist called Jordan Peterson, and he says, I think I've checked this up. I do try to check up some of the things he says, even though he's lying. He said men are focused on things, women are focused on people. There seems to be some sort of reality behind that. I would agree. Like we're more into computer games, we're more into inventions, we're more in the old days. People would go into their sheds and just have a hobby of men, I should say, would go into their sheds and start making stuff. Women wouldn't really do that. Imagine a woman going to a shed and just tinkering away for hours and hours. She could do that, but it's just not normal. A woman would be like making tea, talking to her friend, and that's a really important thing. And maybe that's why partly it's important to be married, so you have the attachment to the other half, and you get the benefit, and the women get the benefit of your industriousness, because men are the ones who invent everything, right? So my point is just kind of we need to be really clear about what is a good way to live as a man. And I think the Quran lays that out. It also lays out how to be a good human being generally, right? And so the Quran has, I would say, 2 bits of advice. I'm going to spell it out really quickly, and I've kind of said it already. Men are there to provide and protect women and the whole family. Okay, and I think we're designed for that. Even mentally, we're designed for that, right? Okay, and women, conversely, or in part of that team, have to be humble, because you can't have a woman who's an obedient. You can't be, you can't have 2 leaders, first of all. Okay, you got to have 1 leader, just like Andrew Tate would have said in the day. Like a captain has a ship. So a relationship. So a ship has a captain, so should a relationship. Makes sense. In any situation, you have 1 CEO, 1 leader, right? So you've got to have 1 leader. So for that to work, you've got to have everybody else, like the employees, listening. Doesn't mean the employees are worse. It just means they're taken care of, right? Okay, so that's one thing. And the other thing in terms of solutions is good men are for good women, the Quran teaches. So stop complaining that, oh, I can't, all the women I'm dating are terrible. That means you're attracted to bad people. Like it
possibly might mean that you're terrible as well. I mean, I think there is some truth in our level of employment, our level of financial stability, our level of who we attract is a reflection on us. I mean, Jesus said that you are what you think. And so everything that you've got around you is a reflection of your last, whatever, how many years have you been on the earth? Yeah. You're not, with respect, you're not in a palace. You're not living on the side of the road. That's because you created what you've got. And it's frightening to realize that it's not about luck. you've created everything that you've got around you. You've created where you are. You've created where you sat.
Okay, so let's discuss that, because a lot of people, I generally agree that if you make good choices, you'll get good results.
Yeah.
And some people disagree with that even, right? But let's talk about how people disagree. So some people say, oh, you might be born in a poor family. So does that mean you've made mistakes by being born in the poor family? My really quick answer is how happy you are and how successful you are is not based on how much money you have, first of all. So being born in a poor family doesn't mean you're a loser anyway. If you're really happy, you're more successful
Well,
than
but
people like,
hang on.
yeah,
It's
go
simpler
on.
than that. If you've been born into a poor family, you haven't made a decision.
Yes.
You have no control over it. How you are as a human, you don't need money to be a pretty good human.
Yeah.
You just need a good set of rules, principles, and the strength and courage to follow them out and continue. And for that, you need role models, and that could be uncles, brothers, friends, older fathers, obviously, um, church, or but you don't need money, and you need some result with these principles, and like to carry on doing them. If it didn't work, then so for example, the last few weeks I've been doing a lot of family stuff, hospital stuff. It hasn't been great, but I've never, and people have been saying to me, "Oh, you're doing so well, yeah, this and that," but like I don't think so, because I'm just following what I know that needs to be done, and as regular as what I'll breathe, I'll continue to do the family stuff.
Hmm.
So do I enjoy it?
What do you mean by
No.
the family stuff? You got somebody ill in the family?
Yeah, it's not going very good. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We
Yeah.
all reach the end at some point. Some of us
Mm,
sooner than others, others later than it. I'm okay with it. But
yeah.
the point is that hanging around hospitals, and it's it's awful, and
Mm, mm.
and ill people and it's just, but that's got nothing to do. What I want, whether I like it or not isn't relevant. It's about what needs to be done. So let's do it. Let's get on with it. And
I
that's
love
like,
that. I think
yeah,
when you keep living like that, living by principles, this is what my duty is. Um, that's actually where happiness comes from. It sounds really
yeah.
strange, right? Let's explain it. Okay, so I'm a big fan of this psychologist called Viktor Frankl. Have you heard me mention him about a million times,
I have,
maybe? Or not?
I have, yeah,
And he says happiness comes from meaning, right? And how do you get meaning? I think he said it, or I kind of interpreted it. You get it from responsibility, because
yeah.
meaning, according to him, is not just like, oh, I feel like my meaning is to play guitar. No, no, no. A meaning, according to this guy, Viktor Frankl, is a higher goal that helps people, not just yourself.
Mhm.
And if you dig down into your feelings, you would know that's right. Like, that's what drives us to do something important, to help people, not just stuff our faces and collect stuff. People like that, I know, and you probably know, are like really miserable.
Yeah,
So,
because
like, living life
it's
like that, like you're saying,
but
principled life, that's
we live
fantastic.
in times where the self is encouraged. So you'll enjoy yourself, make your own choices. It doesn't matter about the consequences. If it doesn't work, we'll get you some antidepressant pills. So the the we're not working for a higher cause. We're not coming from a higher purpose. We're not coming from a higher power. We encouraged in this world we live in to come from a selfish, egoic position. So when we fulfill the self, it doesn't really work. And
Yeah,
um,
I wanna jump in a little bit here, because
yeah,
you said we, not, I mean, not really me and you, but like
as
society.
humans, Yeah,
But
society.
you know what? I'm living in a place where people, not everybody, there's a lot of the naughty, like unselfish people, right, as well. But there's a lot of doing things for other people here. People see the value of like being generous and giving to other people. So it's not all societies. I think there's good and bad in each society. Like I say, Western societies are a bit more industrious and they invent more stuff. That's a good thing about them, right? I hate bashing on any one society. It's terrible. It's stupid as well. Okay. But at the same time, Western society is really individualistic and it kind of harms them. But a lot of societies are like really giving, but then also not as industrious either. So I just want people to know that there's not this one way of doing things. There are beautiful things like I when I go to a shop, sometimes the shopkeeper's not there because they're not scared somebody's going to steal stuff. It's just how they think, right?
Love it. Yeah.
And they'll be talking to their friend in the shop next door, and you have to call them. And there's a lot of trust here, right? But you know, they don't really invent stuff. They're not really good at making apps and whatever. They do a little bit, but not as much. So that's their weakness. So I just want to balance that out.
Quite near to where I am. Not in winter, but in summer. You go out into the hills and the lakes, and there's farms, and they put egg boxes at the bottom of their farm, and you in a pot to put your money in. So you can drive past and just steal all the eggs if you want, steal the money.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone does. It's great.
Fascinating. Which part of England are you in?
Northeast.
Wow. So that's just, it's not like a British thing to be selfish and individualistic. Maybe some parts are different or something like that.
Yeah, where I am, it's very, very different to London. London's a hellhole.
Fascinating. All right, so let's try to tie this back into this all wisdom and all interesting. How do we tie this back into like, I suppose the question, what is toxic masculinity? But even better, what is a solution to what is positive masculinity? So I've already shared some ideas. You share an idea of one. I think you already said there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. So let's say, what is positive masculinity?
I don't think you need. I mean, I'm not trying to be contrite, but you don't need. If you're solid and have good morals and principles, then that bypasses being positive. To be positive is like it's a modern day term, like be positive.
Okay, I want to be as useful as possible. So I know what you mean, like just being excited. No, that's not what I mean by positive. I mean like making a positive impact. Okay, and you were talking about making a positive impact by following principles, for example.
Yeah.
You tell me a principle, and we will discuss that. Like, what is a principle that, let's say, men should follow?
Simple. The most simple one is do the right thing.
I love it.
Yeah, 99% of people know the right thing. Whether we do it or not, it's different. And then you've got things like honesty.
Let's stop on that. Actually, you know what? That's the one I was going to say. Okay, cool. We're like in tune or something, right? Okay, let me explain something. Why do I love that? And even if it sounds really obvious, do the right thing, right? Back to Viktor Frankl, that's exactly what he says, right? He's a top psychologist, right? And when I say top psychologist, loads of people kind of follow his work, right? Loads of psychologists follow his work. He said the same thing. Like deep down, we know what's right and wrong, right?
Yeah.
And that's back. As a Muslim, that's part of like the Quranic teaching. There's a natural disposition. It's called the fitrah in Islam, right? And we know deep down what's right and wrong. Right? We're made for that. So, and then we just keep doing that every day. We think that being successful is this huge leap, or like you just do one day, you flick your finger and you become successful. No, being successful in life and just not just making money is a process. And the process is doing something good consistently every day. And doing the
Yeah.
right thing will get you there. You'll, like, how do I put it? This is really, really important that people in individualistic materialist societies don't understand. They think the things make you happy, but they don't check their own feelings. Now, if you do a bad thing, you will actually suffer physical harm. I think so. Like loneliness causes more heart attacks and stress and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I say having bad ideas, bad intentions makes you stressed, more unhealthy, and has even like downhill process attacks. Like you like if you're a nasty person, you have less friends, less good friends, or have more bad friends, and then more bad things will happen. You know, it just keeps going on. So that's why what I think you said was so important. And then on top of that, you said, oh, I would say is a massive thing in Islam. I think you're on the wrong mic. Okay, thanks, SJJ. I appreciate it. Let me check. I thought I was on the right mic, but let me check. Telling the truth, but this is the thing I was gonna. Mike, I think you're
right. Thanks. He said this before. He said it before. You saved me before, SJJ. Appreciate it. Really do. Is it? Am I sounding any better? Because I just. It's
Yeah,
a
that
deep.
sounds much clearer. It was fine
Oh
before.
my god. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, I really appreciate it, Stephen. I really appreciate it. Stephen was on last week.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Yes, that's why we got a Zoomer around. Appreciate it. Okay, so and then telling the truth. That is like, I'm just going to tell you this thing really quickly because I want to home in onto that because it's so powerful. It sounds so simple. It's so powerful. A man, like this really bad man, approached Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And he said, like, I've got millions of faults. How do I fix it? And he said, just tell the truth. Okay. So he said, or just tell the truth. That's just silly, right? But okay, I'll do it. Right. So he was going to like steal from somebody. And then he thought, oh, if I have to tell the truth, guess what? And somebody asked me, then I'll have to tell the truth. I can't do it anymore. I'm going to drink because in Islam, then like the next day he said, I'm going to drink some alcohol. In Islam, we're not supposed to be drinking alcohol. And then he thought, oh, if somebody asked me, then we're like, oh, I'd have to admit it. And then like, slowly but surely, all his, faults started dying away. And it's really, if you're honest with yourself, you fix so many things. Anyway. What are your thoughts? What do you think about that story? Is that a silly story? You can,
I mean, the thing with honesty. I mean, you could do a separate stream on this. There's honesty, like, and most people think honesty is like childlike. So, if you said to me, "Have you ever been to Spain?" and if I haven't, but I said yes, I have, like to look good, then that's like being dishonest, and that's an external dishonesty. But the main form of honesty is within. So, and the biggest one with me is following faith, following religion. So, and physical training, physical well-being. And if Stephen's listening, Stephen will know what he needs to do every day in order to maintain fitness. Now, that doesn't, you can't argue with that fact. Stephen will know what he needs to do, what he needs not to do. And that's the truth. Now, if Stephen isn't doing that, he's being dishonest to himself, unless he actually says, well, I'm just not doing it, so what do I expect? But he cannot expect good results if he doesn't fulfill the truth, as in the obligations to himself. And I don't think... So, for example,
I'm trying to be harsh and difficult because there's going to be people. Okay, the conclusion to that is what you're saying and what I'm saying is that if you're doing badly in life, that's because you're being dishonest to yourself. What do you think?
Not necessarily. It's possible. You could be being really truthful.
Possible. Like, what's the likelihood?
I don't know, but Jesus was true to himself, and they crucified him. So
that's interesting.
Yeah,
and you can say it's the same about Prophet Muhammad, right? Like he was stoned and persecuted and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think. Okay, this is probably going to get complicated. I don't think that being put on a cross is failure. Like
No,
Jesus had a mission, and he knew he was messing with the powers of the time, right? Right, just by being kind and whatever, but just by being himself, I'm coming from abroad, he knew where this was going to probably end up anyway, right? So that does make things messy. People say stuff like good people finish last or come second and all this kind of stuff. So that does make, muddy the waters, make things confusing for a lot of people. Like, generally, if you do the right thing for a short period of time, you will get a lot of backlash and a lot of suffering. How do you explain that to people? What do you think? I can give an answer, but like, what's your answer? Like, in the short run, and maybe in front of other people, it looks like failure when you're doing the right thing. What do you think?
I think it's true what you say. I'm thinking about if you look at, for example, Stephen and his martial arts, it takes years to get to a level where you are at best reasonable. So for the first few years, you look not good as a musician. I mean, you're constantly learning. So if you want fast results, then it's possibly not worthwhile. It could be cocaine, hookers. Don't get me wrong; they're not unpleasant things, but they rot the soul. But good things take time. Good things take consistency. Good things tend to have a good motivation behind them. Good things are genuine. Good things attract good things. You know if something's good, and you just got to look at life. If you look around you, the people who are liked or respected and those that not. I mean, like Andrew Tate is a caricature of himself, and I suppose a little bit like what Donald Trump's made himself. But I know Boris Johnson. Apparently, I read this yesterday. Apparently, the Queen spent quite a bit of time with Boris Johnson, and she said about him, he's well suited for the stage. And I thought that is so wise. That sums him up. But meaning he's an actor. He's a egoic role. He's a performer. And he
acts the buffoon sort of thing. To people go, oh, he's so cute, we're going to vote for him.
Yeah. So I think steady, consistent, honest. It can be dull. It can be like unflattering.
You know what? Steady and consistent does sound dull, but let me tell you, I love my life by doing 5 minutes a day on my projects, and after years pass, and I'm enjoying the process every day because I have all these different higher goals. I'm working on an app, and the app is not just to make loads of money, but it's the higher goal is to, I'm not going to get all nerdy, but it's kind of like make computers more easy to use. And that sounds boring, but that's not, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Everybody's got their thing, right? Okay, how they can help the world become a better place. But my point is that that consistency stuff sounds really boring, but that's what I think, coming back to the whole, what is it to be a man? It's like to be honest, like we said, that's really tough. That you have to be brave to be honest, right? Okay, you have to be consistent. You have to. I said be a leader. What does a leader mean? Does a leader just mean boss people? No. I think what's great and powerful about men, and why they're the one to invent things, and inventions don't happen like that. I think who said it was like to create an invention or something. I'm gonna, ruin the phrase, but it's like 1% in inspiration, 99% perspiration, right? That means like there's a ton of work and it takes years. So that's what a man is. It's like, I don't just falter because of my feelings, because women get to do that. Women are great with their feelings. Let women have their feelings. We like women to have their feelings. We like them into being emotional. That's a nice thing, but they're not good for inventing, and they're not for protecting, they're not good for doing those deadly jobs and the oil rigs and all the tough things, right? That's what we're good at. We love doing that. We love providing. I think deep down, if men knew what they were, they love working hard, providing for their families, and they like inventing stuff, and they like working if they like work towards a higher goal. So yeah, I kind of, and that consistency and whatever, I don't know. Yeah, I could talk for myself. I love just consistently, calmly working every day. There's nothing bad about that. I don't know. What do you think?
No, absolutely. But you learn this stuff in middle age. Youngsters tend not to. They're wanting to do different things every hour, and we live in a world of instantaneous communication and instantaneous pleasure. Swipe left, swipe right, order a burger to be delivered. So consistency over time is. I think the term toxic masculinity is a symptom or product of the times we live in. There's clearly mainly women or liberal men. It's anything to attack regular men. They have it. It's very, very hard to. Like I'll show signs of narcissism, but we all do at some point. It might be 1%, it might be 100% with people, and so it's very difficult to say, oh, he's a narcissist or he is not a one. Jealousy. Occasionally there might be some jealousy, greed. I might be greedy one day, then I might not be greedy for a month. Does that make me a greedy person? So
see. Exactly. I think we should be trying to help people rather than just label them. It's like, oh, you made a mistake, you're toxic. Okay. So, and that makes me think about like the comment we've got on the screen. Okay. So let's react to it. Toxic femininity is female promiscuity. Toxic masculinity must be men who dare not call out toxic femininity. I'm going to give my really short response.
That's quite good.
Sure.
Who wrote that?
Claire, you can see the Office of Secular Coronism is Claire, right? So, so I would say, sure, there is truth. Toxic femininity is promiscuity, but I don't call it toxic. I just say that's a sickness of sorts, right? And what I do, I personally don't like labeling it toxic, because what I'm doing is I'm not being helpful to that woman. Okay, I'm just going to talk to that woman kindly and say, what happened in your life that makes you screw around with so many people? You're my sister. I want to help you out. I suggest this, and whatever, right? Find a nice husband, all this kind of stuff. I don't call it toxic. And then toxic masculinity is, so I don't agree with you, Claire, that masculine people call out women who are doing the wrong thing. It's like calling out. That's not a manly thing to do. A man knows his lane, as it were. He knows his responsibilities to his wife. He doesn't shout out or tell all sorts of strange women what they should be doing. But he like right now, or what I do. Well, sorry, I don't. Sorry, tell people. No, I don't tell people off or insult people. That's not what a man does.
No.
Okay. A man also gives advice like a father does. Yeah.
Also, as well, as a parent, you sometimes need to know that the person needs to experience the consequence of their actions before they'll change. So let them carry on and let's see how it works out for them. And they'll hit that point and come back. So
sure.
Okay,
maybe is she? Do you think Claire is talking about if it was your daughter who was being promiscuous? Because if it's strangers, then that's somebody else's daughter. You can only do so much, right? But let's say it's my daughter who's being promiscuous. Then what would you do? In my case, it would be still like, first of all, I must have messed up somehow. That would be my first thought, right?
I
Like,
don't know. I don't know about that. I don't. That's a good point. There are good people whose children turn out to be like murderers. I don't. I don't
Yeah, but
know.
it's not like there must be some sense of responsibility as well. If my daughter, because we're talking about feminine, you know, but I've got a son as well. But let's say we're talking about women right now, started
Mhm.
murdering people. I should question myself, like, how did she
Yeah.
become like that? Right? A little bit. And then, well, not a little bit, probably a lot. I'd be concerned if my daughter was murdering people, right? But also, like, then I have to kind of, but there's no point. Islam, in the Quran, it says you have to talk to people calmly and nicely, otherwise they'll leave you and walk away from you, right? So I would just like sit down with her and say, like, you know, what's happening? Why are you murdering people? Or if you're more realistically, why are you screwing around with people? Why are you attracted to bad men? So like, what happened? Let's talk about this, or let's get the family. You know what I mean? Or get my wife to do it, because sometimes women talk to women better. Who knows? But yeah, that would be approach. But I don't call out people. I don't think that's the grown-up approach. And I think society has become childlike, really.
Well,
Like
and also a lot of I mean, a lot of principled men mind their own business and focus on what they need to do. And if people around them are misbehaving, someone said to me the other day there was a funeral and we were church and flowers, and I said, well, we could drop down and just put some flowers on the grave. And this person said, oh, we won't do it at that church because people steal the flowers and put the flowers on other graves. And I said, well, let them. That's not our business. What we need to do is just get a few flowers. You know, it doesn't have to be expensive, and we'll just put them on the grave, and that's our business. So, like, we focus on what we need to do. When you look at boxers in training, you know, their heads are down. They don't see the family even. That they just like focused on what they do. They're not focused on anybody else. And like years ago, like now, it is a world of people going around saying you're a racist, you're sexist, you're a toxic male, you're a chauvinist, you're an Islamophobe, you're a, you know, like you're not a Christian, you're this, you're not this, you don't believe in the Trinity, you.
Yeah.
And
let me ask you a question, because based on, just to kind of simplify it for people, if a man was reading a gossip magazine, what would you think about him?
Like
it wouldn't be manly, would it? Do you mean like a man is focused on doing his job and doing his responsibility? And I think I like to do these little bite-sized ideas, like, what is a man? What makes a positive man? Get focused. Do your responsibility. In fact, that's all we've been saying. In fact, you've been saying it all the time, haven't you? This stream.
Yeah. But I mean, a gossip column or a program like that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a good one. Good example.
Yeah. Cool. And okay, cool. Now I think we've like agreed on a ton of stuff, right? And we're both not old, but like, I don't know, we're not too young either. I'm just trying to think of how can we help like the younger generation. We had Stephen on in the chat a minute ago, and he's really helpful just then. What would be okay? Let's say Stephen. Go on.
Just Stephen's great. He's helped me a load, especially years ago with cameras and sound, and you know.
You met Stephen in real life? I've never met him in real life.
No, when I was doing videos from the beach and the seaside and cameras and setting up and the whole thing, and like I'm older than him, and like I'd like to occasionally I'll send him a message or something. So like he's good. He's a good lad, good chap. But I think the best way to help is to give a good demonstration. I think it's very dangerous to kind of decide that you're going to help people and set about it. It's almost like an egoic character, you know, a do-gooder. I think
I don't agree with that. I think you should. Yeah, I think
I would make sure your own house. Make sure your own house is in order. Make sure everything. And I think then, and it's from the Sermon on the Mount, know them by their fruit. So,
Yes, love that.
a poison tree does not give off good fruit. Good fruit comes from good foundations. So for me, God, so much of it is about putting the brakes on myself in order to be, reasonable, to be pretty good. And then hopefully, so my daughter will learn more from what I do, not what I say. So
Yeah, that's
I
very true.
I think unless you're demonstrating what you preach, then you're a
I think I
fool
see
if
where
you
you're
think,
coming from. Yeah. I was just thinking, like, some people are always so negative about, like, just people giving good advice. Like, we could be giving our advice and saying, "Oh, who are you to give advice to the world?" That's a really negative attitude. That's what I was disagreeing about. But I 100% agree with you. Again, it's very Islamic what you're saying. So the Quran says, "Don't say something that you don't do yourself." Basically, don't be a hypocrite. That's a very ugly. People don't learn from that, and people do look at your example. It's true. Yeah. Cool.
and I mean, I have helped a lot of people in various ways over the years, and which I can talk about off screen.
Sure.
And it's good, but also it's as Christians in New Testament, we're encouraged to be with God, and like there are rewards for actually doing that, and that can be when you're on your own. Of course, be decent in society. That's a must. It's a given. But
Yeah,
we need to be well ourselves as well. So
I actually agree more with when you said we've got. I think you said we should be with God. Oh,
yeah,
and Claire put, how can we be with God? I love that. We both kind of homed into the same thing, because I think being godly makes you incredibly powerful. It makes you resilient. It makes you directed, like everything. That's what I was telling Stephen last time. He doesn't believe in God. Like, it just fixes everything. Like, when you believe in God, the whole truthful thing comes out far more strongly, because people can't, in reality, people cannot check if you're telling the truth all the time. They can't police you. But if you know God is watching your thoughts, then you're just going to be truthful all the time as much as you can. Especially when you think there's a judgment day coming. You're going to pay for it. You don't escape anything. And also, I don't think you escape anything in this life either. Jordan Peterson said something like that. Yeah. You like, just like you said, like, if you think bad things or have bad intentions, it comes out, you get bad results, whatever. Let's answer Claire's question, because I think that's super important. How can we be with God? I would say,
I don't understand
listen
why.
to whatever God's advice is, like the Quran and even the Bible. Like when you said about, the tree that bears good fruit and stuff like that. I can always misquote.
Know them by their fruits.
Yeah, know them by their fruit.
Yeah.
I'll just follow the truth wherever you get it, and especially if it's coming, like, possibly from God, like, listen to it. That's how you be with God. How would you say be with God? How can you be with God?
Well, do you mean how to do it practically?
Yeah, because that's what Claire's asking. It says, how can you see on the screen? How can we be with God? What's your answer?
Well, Claire did a course with Kabbalah, where she clearly has forgotten the whole essence of the course.
Give me your short answer. Your short answer. Forget what Claire. Just tell me how would you say in one sentence?
Reading. It's what I did last night. Reading spiritual literature, prayer works. I struggle with meditation. Going to church doesn't really work. A lot of it is it's about conscious contact with God. So it's inheriting what I think we've got within us anyway. So it's being in contact with it. So if I'm driving my car in conscious contact with God, I'll be a lot more steady, calmer, aware, better. For example, if I'm in self, I'll be in a rage, possibly, or angry, or panic, whatever, showing off or whatever. So to be in conscious contact, it's mentally knowing the principles, but actually
Yeah, I
trying
love it.
to
So the two things you
be it.
highlighted that I really love is reading stuff like scripture or whatever, because God is trying to help you, right? But if you don't take that advice, then you're not being with God at all. It's being really arrogant. And then there's kind of the inner work, like you can call it meditating or praying or self-reflection. You got to listen to what's happening inside. Like
Yeah.
you could read stuff, but you got to reflect, like, how true is that? Does that sit with me? Does that fit with my nature? Is that true? Am I making bad choices? All that kind of stuff. So I think that, like in normal life, if you want to be a good scientist, you got to read up literature, don't you? If you want to be a good spiritual person, you got to read up what is the literature, probably what God is telling you, like all these scriptures, the Bible, the Quran. People might think I'm anti the Bible. I don't know if you listen to my streams enough. I tell people just to be good Christians if they don't want to be Muslims. Like, have you heard me say anything like that before?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's be a good person, whether you're Christian or Muslim, whatever. It's like a lot of this is common sense. It's like, you know, when we said about do the right thing. If, for example, anybody's listening to this today, tomorrow, try when this stream ends to do the right thing. And when you've done the right thing, the next thing you do is do the right thing.
Yeah.
And then when you've done that, the next thing you do is do the right thing.
I love it. I
And
think,
it's
you know what?
amazing.
That's the takeaway. I'm going to call that the takeaway. Like, I mean, I'm going to summarize, because I don't want to take more time and it'll be the wrong thing to go overboard, right? First of all, read scripture or just research, forget the Bible. It can be the Bible, the Quran, whatever. Just research truth wherever you find it. So you got to keep learning. And then listen inside and do the right thing every day. I think you will solve everything. I wanted to do this kind of talk with Stephen again, because he's saying he doesn't feel successful. A lot of young people don't feel successful. And I think that's because they're trying to take shortcuts rather than do the right thing every day. I'm going to leave with that. I like you to have the last word, and then we're going to finish.
Can I just quickly say, with Stephen is really successful. I just don't think he knows it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I
you know what I want to add? I didn't say it to him before, and I should say it. I think he's a really smart guy, and he's a really nice guy deep down. But he wants to be a little bit popular as well, and he says some stuff that I don't agree with. But anyway, yeah.
No. He's solid. He's good, and because of maybe age, but also the world we live in for people around his age, that he has a barometer of what success means, and it's quite difficult to attain, very, very difficult to attain.
Or if you try to attain, first of all, it might be the wrong thing that you're aiming for, and deep down it's just selfish stuff. Like, okay, what's the point of just being he was kind of into martial arts? What is the point of simply kicking people harder and being successful at that, right? He was into Mao Tai, or whatever it's called, Mai Tai, right? What is the meaning? There could be some meaning, but maybe I think the reason why he wasn't successful at it, because he says he wasn't successful with it, because he didn't know why he was doing it other than just to get a trophy, I think, right? Well, I've got to talk to him about it, right? Somebody's asking, what is the right thing? Deep down, you know what the right thing is, and it's not shortcuts, it's not fast. It's like, what should I do today? My 1 step in my 1,000-step journey. What should I do right now, or what is the right thing? And to know what the right thing is, you also have a higher goal. Like, what am I trying to achieve? Am I just doing random stuff, or am I trying to achieve something beneficial for all of humanity? And then as a side effect, get lots of money. Like, if you help 1,000 people, that has value, but aim first to help 1,000 people rather than monetize it first. So that would be my answer, Brew.
Yeah, I mean, the Muay Thai thing is I don't think you fully have got a grasp on it, and that's not an insult.
Maybe I don't.
But, it's a it's a martial art between consenting adults, but to bring it back to the topic of the stream, the thing we're talking about in general, like, to be successful, a lot of it depends on how you view success. And you know, I don't think that I see, and I think Stephen will realize this as he gets older, that a lot of the qualities and good attributes that people have, he's got them, and that they will see him through with a lot of things, and things may change externally in a few years for him, you know, but he's got like the ingredients to make a cake. He's got the right ingredients.
He's got brains, and I like his honesty. Like the last thing, like I said on the spot, what are the red flags? And he said stuff that other people wouldn't say, like women with in terms of picking women with tattoos, women I think that drink and have crazy hair, whatever. I think he's kind of has some kind of, he's in touch with reality, and he's smart. He does come up with fairly good ideas, but I disagree with some of his ideas but we were talking about.
But, I mean, I'm completely at ease with his non-religious atheist stance, waiting to be convinced, I think is what he says. It, you know.
Well, I don't. I think he's not being honest with himself there, and that's the kind of thing that holds people back. Like I don't think he had very strong arguments, and I think that's it really. Like when you start following the truth every day, that's it. You will win. You will win. And you can see that like religious people are winning in terms of making families and steady lives and making progress and stuff like that. So, okay, cool. Let's wind up. I really appreciate it. Jay, that was awesome. I mean, we don't have to agree, but I just felt like what you were saying was so true. And basically, quite frankly, Islamic and Christian, because guess what? Muslims think that the origins of Christianity are the same. Not everything is pristine condition, I'd say, in Christianity, but that's a whole different debate. I think the origin and much of there is huge overlap for that reason, because the origins are the same. Same God. Okay, thank you very much, Jay. Appreciate it. Until next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Peace be upon you.